Golan Heights. In 1973, this rocky terrain on the Israel-Syria border turns into a killing ground.
The Golan Heights is Syrian territory, and Syria cannot, will not concede it.
A few hundred unprepared Israeli tankers come face to face with 1,200 Syrian tanks.
And all I see, from horizon to horizon, the entire Syrian army starts to drive across from me.
This was a no-holds-barred fight, and neither side backed down from it.
The Golan Heights. 1,200 square kilometers of the most hotly contested real estate on the planet.
It's Dante. It's inconceivable. It's an inferno.
The Golan Heights. 1,200 square kilometers of the most hotly contested real estate on the planet. It's a barren, volcanic escarpment that has been occupied by Israel since the Six-Day Arab-Israeli War of 1967. Both Israel and Syria claim it as their own. In the fall of 1973, that border dispute erupts into a sudden, ferocious, and bloody war. October 6th. It's Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement. Most Israelis are at home, repenting for their sins and observing a fast, leaving the frontier with Syria lightly guarded. The commander of the 74th Israeli Tank Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Yair Nafshi, begins a routine patrol.
It was simply pastoral peacefulness, and I am patrolling the positions along my front. At 12, a commander from the Hermon post calls me, and he says, "Yair, the Syrians are taking off their camouflage nets from their artillery." And then I act instinctively. So I turn my jeep around and gather all my men and say to them, "Look, the scenario is that the Syrian army is removing their camouflage screens. I don't know what this means." And the men stop fasting, mount their tanks and start to prepare them. And as we are driving from the lots, the bombardment starts. The artillery lands on us, then planes of the Syrian Air Force attack.
The Syrians have been planning the attack for 9 months. Israeli intelligence had some clues, but for the men on the front, it's a complete surprise.
What these Syrians do is lull Israel into a false sense of security. The Israelis have seen the Syrians move all their troops up, get geared up for war, time and again, only to have them all go back to their bases. And so on the 6th of October, when the Syrians don't go back to their bases, the Israelis are caught completely off guard.
Israel is a small state, and they have perfected the art of mobilization. So it is in the first shots of the war that you want to accomplish as much as possible so as not to bring the bulk of the Israeli army against you.
The majority of the Israeli forces are reservists who need 20 hours to fully mobilize. Consequently, Israeli forces on the Golan Heights consist of fewer than 6,000 light infantry, 60 artillery pieces, and 2 under-strength armored brigades with 170 tanks. In comparison, the Syrians have massed more than 50,000 infantry, 600 artillery pieces, and 1,200 main battle tanks.
This is a huge amount of armor. And over and above that, it was Yom Kippur in Israel. People were on holiday. The intelligence services in Israel were lax. the Arabs can't fight. And so, as a result, they were in for a very major surprise.
I thought to myself, what's going on? Who are those pilots, crazy pilots, what they're doing? And I thought this is Israeli. By mistake, they are bombing us. I didn't realize that any aircraft from Syria can come across the border and start to bomb us. And I couldn't talk after that.
I crossed through the barrage of shells, wave after wave. In 5 minutes, I'm finally at the edge of Booster Ridge, viewing over half the Golan Heights. At first, it's small. And then, like rings of cigarette smoke, it slowly gets closer, bigger and bigger. And all I see, from horizon to horizon, the entire Syrian army starts to drive across from me.
But this is only part of a much larger war. Egypt and Syria have launched simultaneous attacks on 2 fronts, splitting Israeli defense forces. Their mission? To take back territory lost during the 6-day Arab-Israeli War, including the Sinai and the Golan Heights.
The Syrian body politic was humiliated, was traumatized. It is as a result of this that we had the 1973 war, a war that was made specifically in order to regain this territory that Israel occupied.
Over the course of time, they developed a campaign plan that was specifically tailored to retake the Golan and repair Syria's tarnished honor.
The Syrian battle plan is to use overwhelming force and penetrate the Israeli line at 2 points. Then send armored divisions through the gaps to advance across the Golan Plateau and seize key bridges over the Jordan River. At the spearhead of the Syrian attack are masses of the Soviet-designed T-55 tank. The T-55 at 40 tons is relatively small for a main battle tank, making it hard to hit. Its 100mm main cannon has an effective range of just 2,400 meters, no match for the bigger guns of the Israelis. But that disadvantage is offset by numbers. The Syrians attack the Golan Heights with more than 1,200 T-55s.